Started. Hello and welcome to the service tonight. I'm, of course, Dr. Doug Kelley. I'd like to welcome everybody here in our live audience. We have throngs among us, and we certainly welcome those who are watching the live broadcast as well as those watching the archives if you're watching after the fact. Tonight's service is Spirit of Life service, which is aptly named, if you ask me. Of course, I named it, so I'm a little biased. But the Spirit of Life weekly service is an educational program of the International Church of Metaphysical Humanism. I even said it right this week. Our mission is to explore and empower the human spirit as well as to explore science and spirituality. We have a number of programs that we offer, educational programs really, and self-help programs. This is one. EmpoweredRecovery.com is another one, which is for the friends and family of addicts and alcoholics. Paranexus.org is our Association of Anomalous Researchers. MetaphysicSinstitute.org, we offer bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees in metaphysics in a variety of specialization areas such as spiritual counseling, coaching, hypnosis, holistic healing, paranormal related matters, and many more. We also have ICHSworld.org where you can take standalone courses in metaphysical topics. So those are a few of our programs. Tonight on the program, my part, which will be coming up here shortly, is Rebooting Your Self-Confidence. And then Dr. Vicki Hunter will be talking on her proprietary information, Body, Thought, Memory Integration, how to release the past and embrace the future. It's an interesting thing that she does with that, so we'll look forward to that. Before we get too further along, I'd like to read our abbreviated principles of belief. Somebody didn't get the list out. I'm not saying who. These 9 principles of belief, they're abbreviated. They're slightly longer, and they're available on metaphysicalhumanism.org. So let's start with number 1, which is pretty succinct. Do no harm, do right. Number 2, we believe in the indomitable power of the human spirit. The answers we seek already exist within us. Number 3, we believe that we alone are responsible for and capable of solving human social problems. Number 4, we are all equal. One planet, one race, one ancestry, one destiny. Number 5, we recognize and honor the divine energy that exists in all living things. 6, we are physical and spiritual beings. Consciousness survives death of the physical body. 7, self-acceptance, self-responsibility, and respect for free will creates self-completeness, which is another word for self-actualization. Number 8, metaphysical education and practical life skills empower the human spirit and enhance the human condition. And number 9, expanding human consciousness leads to human evolution and peaceful coexistence. And again, there's more discussion on these 9 principles of belief at metaphysicalhumanism.org. All right, next up, we want to pick an inner oracle card to act as a theme for the program tonight, so let me do that. I have already shuffled them, and I'm going to choose a card at random. The card is wild card number 1, Paradox. Wild card number 1, Paradox. And obviously a paradox is something that seems like it shouldn't be so, but it is. And when Dr. Vicki Hunter, in our latter part, will talk more about what paradox means. So that is the card theme. Wild card number 1, Paradox. No funny jokes about the paradox now. You could make a lot out of that one. All right, my presentation, Rebooting Your Self-Confidence. I've talked several times about self-esteem, them-esteem. I'm going to talk about them again. In my experience with the school, with my work with alcoholic relationships, my work with people in general, the area of self-esteem you just can't quite cover enough. It's an area that, it's like on the one hand, we know that we should have a good, healthy self-esteem, and then on the other hand, it's like there's always something to to feel bad about yourself over. You know, it's almost like a mental understanding versus an emotional swaying. It seems that emotional part gets us back because we end up doing one thing which pretty much kills our self-esteem often, and that's comparing ourselves with other people, right? Pretty much is. Now, self-confidence, let me just differentiate between the two. Self-confidence is perhaps a broad, in a broader sense, it certainly involves self-esteem. If you don't have a good, healthy self-esteem, you're probably not going to have the self-confidence that you want. But self-confidence and self-esteem are not necessarily the same thing. For example, I might be very skilled in my secular job. I can do it well. I've done it for years. I know what I'm doing, and I know that I know what I'm doing. So I'm very confident in my job. I know what I'm doing. But at the same time, I could think, wow, I'm just no good. I don't measure up. People have it, you know, people are better than me, whatever. So you can be confident and yet still suffer from a lack of self-acceptance, which is part of our life leadership paragon. It's the very first one, self-acceptance, which is self-esteem. So self-confidence is when you're confident in your abilities to do something specific, but self-esteem governs everything. Self-confidence or self-acceptance is pretty much how you feel about yourself. And you may know of Jack Canfield, who was the author of Chicken Soup for the Soul, among many other things. He once wrote that you'll never rise above the level of your self-esteem. And it's true. Most people struggle with self-acceptance, and often, if not always, it comes from childhood stuff, right? The baggage we bring into adulthood from childhood. And it almost doesn't matter so much what you went through in your childhood. I mean, you can almost have a pristine childhood, and a lot of people will bring that with them in some way. And it's a result of perhaps being at school. You know how difficult it can be at school, where kids can be rather cruel. They can be mean. You wear the wrong designer jeans to school and you're made fun of. If your name rhymes with anything remotely funny, then you get that going on, and they pick on you and so forth. So most people struggle to some degree with self-acceptance, which affects their self-confidence. And as I mentioned just a moment ago, the only time that self-esteem seems to come into play, or lack thereof, low self-esteem, is when we end up comparing ourselves to other people. Think about that just for a moment. Let it slowly simmer. Just think about that. If you don't compare yourself to others, then what happens to your self-esteem? I mean, think about it for a minute. If there's nobody to compare to, then how do you know you're not as good as someone else? You don't have that comparison going on because there's nobody else to compare to, right? So my question tonight, and I'm going to be rather direct in some of this stuff in an effort to shock and awe you. You ready for that? Shocking. That you can say that later. I'll say, how did you feel about that? You'll say, shocking. Right? No? Okay. Now I've lost my train of thought. My blonde hair has nothing to do with that, by the way. Much. All right. If you don't have anybody to compare yourself to, then you don't really usually have much of a self-esteem issue. Problem is, there's a lot of people you could compare yourself to. And why do we do that? Think about that. I mean, look at the media. Look at Hollywood. Look at all the movies. Everybody's compared to an ideal that we think is the ideal, right? So we end up comparing ourselves to this ideal, and we end up with a damaged self-esteem, self-acceptance. It has a lot to do with the way you think about you, and the way you think about you yourself is a habit. Change the habit. And those people that you're comparing yourself to, guess what they're doing? Anybody? Comparing themselves to others. Maybe even you. You ever have that happen? Where you think you're just not as good as so-and-so, and you end up having a conversation and they think they're not as good as you. It's like, We begin to see the futility of that kind of stinking thinking. It just doesn't make any sense. So how can you turn that around? Change the way you think about you. I don't care whether you're tall, short, fat, thin, green, blue, black, yellow, whatever. I don't care. Who said that one particular model is the reference point? Who designated that? I mean, population, social, the general people out there, they all, oh, wow, you're so this, you're so that. So we begin to think that this person has been designated as the reference point, the role model for what a person should look like or be like, correct? But that's just more them-esteem, isn't it? Y'all remember the difference between them-esteem and self-esteem. Self-esteem is that you have internal expectations and validation. It's internal. Them-esteem is external expectations and validation. If I have them-esteem, then I only feel good about myself when I'm doing what someone else thinks I'm doing. If I have them-esteem, I only feel good about me when I look like the Hollywood stars, or I am doing something like so-and-so does, or when I do what so-and-so, someone else says. Could be my parents, could be the religion, could be anything. So when we talk about self-esteem and low self-esteem, we don't really use low self-esteem. It doesn't make any sense anymore. Them-esteem does, because low self-esteem is the same thing as them-esteem. So at this point, do this. Scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest. Take just a second, and what number are you on the self-esteem scale? 10 being the highest, 1 being the lowest. You don't have to tell me, just note it. Where are you at? Excuse me. I do that a lot with my counseling, and a lot of times people say 5, halfway. Some people say 6 or 7. That's good. Some people have said even lower. Whatever number you're at, why? Why'd you pick that number? That's for you to answer. It's a rhetorical question. Why'd you pick that number? There's nothing wrong with you unless you're guilty of crimes against humanity, and I'm pretty confident that you're not. Stop this kind of thinking. There is nothing wrong with anyone here, with anyone watching this. You're perfect just the way you are. And you're perfect in more ways than you can even imagine. Because where you are right here, right now, is based on your own choices. I mean, think about it. We're all together here, right? Every one of us made a decision, a choice to be here, right? I did. You did too. Otherwise, you wouldn't be part of this. We wouldn't be part of this. We are where we are in life because of our choices. If you don't like where you're at in life, change your choices. It's okay. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to be different than the accepted norm. Right? It's okay. Nobody said you had to conform to what's socially acceptable. Obviously, we have to abide by the laws and all that to have a fluid society, right? To get along and to make things work. But you can be yourself too, can't you? You can. And that's what's beautiful about people. Think about this. We talked about assertiveness a week or two ago. And I went over some of the different types of behavior. There's assertive behavior. That means I win, you win, right? There's aggressive behavior. I win, you lose. There's passive-aggressive behavior. I win, you lose. Same as aggressive. Then there's passive behavior. I lose, you win. And then there's codependent. I win if you win. Of all of those, there's only one that's really healthy. I win, you win. Win-win situation, correct? Now, if you take each one of those, what are those people who are in those behaviors, what are they focused on? Well, let's start with assertive. I win, you win. What am I focused on? Both of us, right? It's a mutual focus. If I'm aggressive, who am I focused on? self-focused, right? I win, you lose. Same with passive aggressive. And what about codependent? I win if you win, and passive, I lose, you win. You almost might think, well, those two kind of fall into I'm focused on the other person, right? But let's take it a step further. If I'm passive, I lose, you win, or if I'm codependent, I win if you win. I'm focused on what you think of me. So what am I focused on? Self-focused. Isn't that interesting? So passive people, codependent people, you know, a lot of them take pride in that. Well, I'm not hurting other people. You're right. You're hurting yourself. You're allowing yourself to be hurt. So people with low self-esteem are self-focused. I only feel good about myself when other people think I'm doing what I should be doing, or what they think I should be doing, to be more accurate. So we don't want to be self-focused. We want to be mutually focused. It should be win-win. It's never good if it's not win-win. That's the only healthy approach to take. So, to reboot or rebuild your self-confidence, what do? I'll start with self-acceptance. You know, acquire the knowledge that you need to acquire to be confident in who you are. That confidence can be in your job, it can be in anything, but it could also be in just who you are as a person. What knowledge do you need? Maybe you don't need any real, external knowledge at all. Maybe everything you need is right inside you, right here and now. And it is. There's nothing wrong with you. It is okay to be who you are. I mean, that might sound like a simple statement, right? But it's pretty powerful when you think about it, because most of us, when we have poor self-esteem, it's not okay to be us, because we're comparing ourselves to others. But it's okay to be who you are. You are perfect just the way you are. Do you realize the odds of any of us being here are beyond astronomical? Talk about winning the lottery. We all did in a huge way. We're here. And so when we bring our own distinctiveness, our own uniqueness to the table, we're bringing something that nobody else can bring but us. If you weren't here, nobody would ever be able to bring that to the table. Is that not cool? So I don't care what you look like, what you think is wrong with you. It's not. Should we go talk to some actresses and actors who've had all that stuff done because they also didn't like the way they looked? You know the stories, the plastic surgery and all. Act as if. You want to be confident, you want to have good, healthy self-esteem, act as if. Behave as if. Think as if. It's your own personal self-talk that comes into play a lot. We have to be mentally disciplined. We have to discipline ourselves when it comes to the thoughts that we think and the things that we say to each other. Think about the First National Thought Bank of blank. Insert your name here. When you have a negative thought, it's like taking a withdrawal out of your bank account. When you have a positive thought, it's like making a deposit to your bank account. How many people have an overdrafted bank account? Because they constantly say negative things about themselves. You don't have to do that. You just don't have to. And with a nod to Bob Newhart, stop it. That might have been a funny skit, and if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, look it up on YouTube. Bob Newhart, stop it. It's funny. But it's true. Sometimes that's all it takes. We just need to slap ourselves a little bit. Stop it. Stop thinking that way. Stop comparing yourself to other people. Look, I think Pierce Brosnan's probably a good-looking guy. I have a hard time telling whether guys are good-looking, but that's just my thing, right? But I'm pretty sure he is. Probably really good-looking to women. And to probably some men. Will I ever look like him? No. You guys are saying, no, you don't. But I don't care. I don't need to. He'll never look like me. How about that one? Huh? That's right. That's what I'm talking about. Will he, and he's, I'm sure, a nice guy, will he ever do this? Will he ever make this contribution to humanity? Not this one, because that's the only one I can make. I can only make this contribution in the way that I make it. What about you? What contribution are you making that nobody else can make? And what's that worth to you? Is that not worth something? Say yes. Good answer. Just ask me, I'll tell you what to say. Act as if, walk as if, behave as if you have high confidence, high self-esteem, and you will. Some quotes. What you think of me is none of my business. A lot of people have said that. The earliest I can find is Eleanor Roosevelt. What you think of me is none of my business. I said this last week, you know, if you disagree, that's okay. Can people disagree with us? Yes, it's okay. Don't need people to agree with you. Because think about that. When you say something and somebody poo-poos it, oh, I don't like that, I don't think that's true at all, and all of a sudden the spotlight's on you and you're thinking, ooh, maybe I'm not right about that. Don't do that. You have a right to your own perspective without judgment, whatever that perspective is. Now, of course, we urge you to think about things, have a compelling basis for any beliefs you have that are reasonable, but you're still entitled to your perspective, just as I'm entitled to mine, without judgment. People want to judge you. Who's that on? It's on them, isn't it? It's not on us. It's their stuff, not our stuff. Should have brought my ball. I think I've mentioned this before, but I used to do the don't catch the ball little routine, and I'd get an audience member up here and we'd toss a ball. And whenever somebody tosses you a ball, what do? We catch it. And when we catch it, we take ownership of it. So when somebody says something about us, even to our face, behind our back, doesn't really matter. If they disagree with us, if they do something that could potentially damage our self-esteem, it's like tossing that ball. And what do? We catch it, we take ownership of it, and if it's, you know, hurtful or something, sometimes we might just fire it right back at them. What happens if you just let the ball bounce off? Do you have to catch the ball? The answer is no. And there's a huge point behind this. Don't catch the ball. Why not? Because you don't have to. You don't have to. It is not written anywhere that says you've got to catch that ball or take ownership of whatever they think or don't think. Don't catch the ball. What you think of me is none of my business. Another quote I just saw a day or two ago. I don't know who originally said it. It's unknown, but they made the point that you're a ghost driving a meat-coated skeleton made from stardust. What do you have to be scared of? Kind of puts it in perspective. Excuse me. And my late father came up with a brilliant quote that I didn't know about until I was going through his papers after he had passed back in 2002. And he wrote this. He said, "We ought not stand in the shadow of our worst moments." We ought not stand in the shadow of our worst moments. You know what happens, folks? It takes so much energy, so many emotional resources to constantly kick ourselves, to denigrate ourselves, to constantly have that stuff going on. We're not good enough. We're not smart enough. We're not educated enough. And at some point in our life, we have to just release it. We've got to let it go because it takes too much energy. We could channel that energy in other more positive ways. Build yourself up. There's nothing that you have to be ashamed of, no shame, no guilt. Make your mistakes, embrace them, learn the lesson, move forward, understanding that nobody gets a no mistake pass, right? Everybody makes mistakes. And there are times when we all do it wonderfully. We'll put our foot in our mouth. We'll say the wrong thing. We didn't mean it to come out that way. Or we do something. We blunder. We don't know why. It happens to everybody. There is nobody exempt, not even those people who are ridiculing you for making a mistake. Just understand that they got to put their socks on the same way too. So, accept who you are for the unique person that you are, for the unique gift that you are to this table. You bringing that to the table. The ultimate foundation here is do no harm, do right. Don't harm your self-esteem either by thinking crappy thoughts. Remember the First National Thought Bank of, insert your name. Anytime you think a negative thought, it's like making a withdrawal from your bank account. And if you're overdrawn, then we have a problem. That means you've got to make some positive comments about yourself to get your bank, your balance up and over in the positive side. So when it comes to self-confidence, just make the decision to stop thinking poorly of yourself. Stop comparing yourself to other people. Because it doesn't matter. It just doesn't. And we often come to this point sometimes too late in life, and that's not good. It doesn't matter. Bring your uniqueness, your own inner beauty out, and deliver greatness to the world. Every one of us can do that. Deliver your greatness to the world, and don't get bogged down with the negative self-talk, the negative thoughts, and so forth. We ought not stand in the shadow of our worst moments. Why not live in the sunshine of your best moments? Focus on that. You make a mistake, fine. Learn a lesson, make amends if necessary. Move on, guilt-free. Just be you. And be happy that you're here. And just stop thinking poorly about yourself. I hope some of these points have helped. And if you still need more, you can contact me and I'll... Okay, I can't say that on the stage. I'll help you. In the form of slapping, but not really. Because you don't need to think that way. Okay, next up on the program, Dr. Vicki Hunter. Well, thank you, Karen. We'll pay you later. Body, thought, memory integration, how to release the past and embrace the future. This is an interesting topic that Dr. Hunter has come up with and practiced. And so pay close attention to how this all works, because it's really very interesting. Welcome, Dr. Vicki.
Hello, everybody. Glad to see you again. You know, boy, that first half hour was just loaded with great stuff. It really is great stuff. I mean, the problem is sometimes we don't always remember our lives maybe the way they happened, or maybe we have memories or experiences that we trip over. That's very common, actually, because we can intellectualize ourselves and we can intellectualize healing. We can go to counselors, we can do lots of stuff, but until we actually encounter a situation that triggers those things, we don't really know if we got it. So I think it's generalized psychology, actually in the advanced program, it has this a formula that we remember ourselves in our lives through implicit, explicit, and procedural memory. And that's broken down into another 3 parts too. So that's how we remember things. But I think that there's something more. I like to go a little bit further than that, in that there's cellular memory, there's DNA memory, and the 2 kind of different things. But we also have a spiritual memory. So in my journey of learning and studying and researching, I had a lot of experiences that started formulating in my mind, because like everybody else, I was tripping over my own stuff too. I would think that I was doing pretty good, but then something would happen to show me that I really hadn't learned anything at all. So I have 2 really kind of highlighted stories for you in 2 very different areas that kind of lends to how I built the body, thought, memory integration program that probably took over 20 years actually to formulate it. I didn't even know I was building a program, to be honest. I woke up one morning and I had it in my head. So when I was about 37, I decided to take martial arts training. And for all the good it was doing me, I kept breaking the toes on my left foot. Seriously, 3 times. Here I am back into emergency, cracked toes, broken toes. It was like, why always on my left foot? That was just crazy. Well, through my media work, I was really privileged to meet a fellow from Asia who saw my foot wrapped up one day and asking me what happened. So I told him, and he said, you know, where I come from, the old healers won't heal you after your second time that you've done something to yourself. They send you home until you figure it out because they don't want to keep treating you if you're not treating yourself. And I went, wow, I hadn't thought about that. And I said, you know, come to think of it, I broke that foot when I was about 5 or 6 years old. He said, well, there you go. So I thought, well, what's that got to do with anything? You know, I mean, okay, but I keep re-injuring it. So I did some meditations and realized that back in my memory, I had, you know, as we all do at some point, you tune out a pain. Well, I didn't realize I didn't just tune out the pain, I actually tuned out the foot. So I hadn't integrated that foot into my experience. So once I started to do that and be more conscious of it, let it be a part of my body, I didn't injure that foot. To this day, I haven't injured that foot. So that was an interesting, really interesting perspective that we have memory in our bodies that filters through our consciousness that inhibit us as we're going through life. So, okay, that, and I took that to many other different levels. It was a great thing. So you can think about that for yourself, maybe, and how it relates to you. Some years later, I had come across these older fellows who were retired and decided to start, they were scientists too, start this radio wave treatment program to help people in their electromagnetic frequencies. Well, I was fascinated, hadn't heard about that one. You got to understand, this is long before the internet. This is when you actually had to spend 3 hours in a library to find out anything. So of course, I wanted to know what this was. Well, what they had done is built this technology that would use light to help people heal in their bodies, light frequencies and radio waves. Well, I thought that was just fascinating. So I wanted an assessment. So what they do is they take your picture, and through all their little tricks that they do, you come back a little time later and they tell you all the things that they have detected in your body that could use some aligning. Well, I was just over the moon. I thought this was so exciting. I could actually get help with working on some things that I wanted to. So as I'm listening to him, he's going through his sheets and all his lists. And I was totally confused. I thought he was talking about an alien or something because I couldn't relate to one word he said. But very quickly, I started thinking, oh, that's that client. Oh, wait a minute, that's another client. Whoa, I had that client. And the real kicker for me is he was saying, yes, and you're having problems with your reproductive organs, your uterus, and so on, and the swelling. And I'm thinking, bingo, I don't have a uterus. But I had a client the week before I went in to get my assessment who had been pregnant with a very sore back, bless her heart. So I helped her a little bit with her back. And I have great empathy for pregnant women. So there you go. But what I had realized in that moment, fascinating, is there was residual energy in my own body from everybody I had come in contact with. Now, I thought I was pretty good at clearing energy, you know, especially when you psychically connect with people or tune in. You're mingling auras. There's always, you know, we're interconnected. But to stay whole, I thought, you know, I'd done my white light meditations and clearing that away, and people leave and I send them out the door. But I wasn't nearly as good as I thought I was. So I had to sit back and do some real big thinking there too, and start a different kind of meditation. Now, colors was a real key for me because I've been studying about chakras and energy in the body like my entire life. So that started to click. So cellular memory, DNA memory, lights, chakras. You know, I'm starting to formulate a picture. You know, there's a story here. There's pictures. So what is it that we could learn from thoughts in the body, experiences in the body, but better yet, how can we become more whole, evolve ourselves, heal beyond, and recreate ourselves with all these different kinds of knowledge that we have, at least certainly that I had had to that point. So the one thing I want to say before I move on here just a little bit, with meditations and chakras, there are 7 of them. And at the very top is violet, indigo, blue, green for the heart, yellow in the solar plexus, orange and red is the root chakra. So there's thousands of chakras, to be honest, and they all mingle, but the 7 primary ones. A lot of meditations that I've been doing for many years always started at the bottom and went up. So it's like you're expanding consciousness, elevating your thoughts. Everybody wants to be an astral traveler. But what I found is I was just turning into an airhead, to be honest. This isn't working for me. I needed to shift this around a little. We all want to be more conscious in our body. We all want to be more whole in our life and become more aware and better human beings. So I started doing it the reverse. I started doing it at the top and going down. So that's really important to note. But the body, thought, memory integration was, where do these thoughts live in our bodies? Where do our emotions live? Where are these things that are tripping us up? Because I can think, okay, but am I thinking okay because my emotions, I'm trying to have a conversation with somebody, but I'm getting sick to my stomach. I'm having a panic attack in my brain chemistry, but I'm sick to my stomach. So how does that all work? So again, I want to just repeat here for a second that we are more than just a brain and more than just that capacity of mind. We are a very conscious organism that has very many parts. But I want to be the boss of me. I want to be my own manager. I want to know how this works, how I'm feeling, and I want to be able to manage my emotion. I want to be able to feel and think and do in a better way. I have to learn about myself better. So what I thought, even from trauma, post-traumatic injuries, and victimizations in life, I used to have the idea that because you have the experience, the most you'll ever get is an emotional limp. And I changed my mind. I really did. I think we never forget things that happen, but we can be transformative in how we view ourselves and change that energy. But it must include the body. So if we're in any kind of a healing journey, we want to heal spiritually, mentally, physically, and emotionally. And we want to be able to do all of that. So the Body, Thought, Memory Integration Program is very simple. When I work with somebody with this, I would ask them, what's the first, well, I do an in-depth one with 7 statements, but what are the first 3 things that you might like to control in your life? Inevitably, people come up with, well, I'd like to control my weight. I would like to control my emotions. And I would really like to control my husband. Usually it's something to that. Well, what I do is I put these thoughts into the body to understand better how they're linking energy and how the body is reacting. So when somebody says, well, I really like to control my weight, that's right at the top chakra. So again, I work from the top down. This is the spiritual half of the body, and again, the physical, the emotional part of the body, and it's the lower. It works, really, it does every time. So I say, well, if you're thinking about weight, that's got to be really heavy on your head. Why don't we give that a good color and put it in the body where it could belong? Well, if you want to be really active, that's red. So if that's something that you want, we give it an appropriate color and we meditate on that in the body. If they're thinking, well, I'd like to control my emotions, well, that would be a number 2, landing in here and what you see. Well, let's give that yellow. So, and so on. So what I do is give thoughts a color so that it can start to move in the body properly. In other words, a more appropriate energy. So if it is that you're very obsessive or thinking about things, the body needs to be able to talk to you. So what we need to do is put thoughts in the body where they ought to be a little better, so that the body then can start, we are allowing space and a flow of energy so the body can really start to speak to us in a way that we hadn't thought before. So this is part one. In about 3 weeks, I'm going to come back and give you the second part. And we're going to do a really extraordinary body, thought, memory integration meditation of how to clear even unconscious residual energy out of the body. So I hope this has been a little bit helpful to get you thinking about all the different ways that we're created that we may not know about. And the point is we want to be whole, we want to be living from the inside out and self-aware so that we can interact better. And as Dr. Kelley says, you know, walking in the world, being confident, because I am a unique creation. And I really believe this. Some people don't understand it. I am the most fascinating individual I know. I really am. Because I'm the only one who lives in here. Like, imagine. So there's stuff going on in here. I find that really interesting. I mean, I find all of you interesting too, but I'm the only one in here. So
As far as you
think
know.
about that for yourself. You are interesting to you. So
Thank you, Dr. Vicki. We'd like to thank you, and we'd like to thank you, and
and you, and you, and you.
yeah, and we will come back, and if you have any questions for her, just hang on to them for a few minutes, and we'll get them during the Enspirit portion of the program. Next up, we want to do our a quick meditation, and then we'll kind of segue into the Enspirit. And just before I get into the meditation, a couple quick announcemements. We are having our online graduation ceremony coming up in about 10 days or so, May 2nd. It's at 9 p.m. UTC, Greenwich Mean Time, same thing. It's 5 p.m. Eastern in the United States. If you are an IMHS student, please go to the Student Center, and you can get more details if you'd like to participate in this online graduation ceremony, which we will do from here. It'll be our first video online graduation. You won't be on camera. I will, and Dr. Vicki will. But we will handle it from here. So please go, and you got to register if you want to participate. Time's running out here. Thanks to all those who contributed, donated. We appreciate your kind donations as always. Next week's program, Metaphysics and True Science, which is going to get into how metaphysics is viewed by mainstream science. It's also going to give you tips on dealing with people who ridicule you for being involved with metaphysics. So that's Metaphysics and True Science next week. And Dr. Hunter will be speaking on finding your voice to speak with confidence. That's next week. Let's do our meditation. If you'd like to find yourself in a comfortable position, take a deep breath in through your nose, hold on to it for a moment, and just slowly release it. And as you do, just feel the energy release, the relaxation come in. Feel your body just let go. It's fine to just relax for a moment. Just think about this. This is your time. Nobody wants anything, nobody bothering you. Just relax. Another deep breath. And let it go. And as you continue to breathe normally, focus on the rhythm of your breathing. Breathing in the good, the clean, the powerful, and releasing anything negative, anything discouraging. I want you to imagine that beautiful soul light just above your head. Beautiful ball of white light with just electric tentacles reaching out and connecting with everything there is. This beautiful ball of light is who you are. It is your uniqueness. It is your higher self. Bring it on down into your body, inside your imagination. See it coming into the middle of your body, the center, and literally filling you up with empowering light. See your body fill up. Beautiful white light, healing whatever it touches. It's encouraging. And there's something about this white light that is you. It lets you know that you are good enough. You have everything you need to be anything you want. This white light does not depend on anyone else outside of you to strengthen you. This white light that is you knows that you are perfect just the way you are, that you are strong, and that you are empowered, that you have greatness to deliver. In your mind, in your imagination, I wonder if you can repeat with me, I am enough. Say it in your mind. Repeat it. I am enough. Again. I am enough. And now in your mind, repeat after me, I am perfect. Say it in your mind with confidence. I am perfect. I am perfect just the way I am. I am perfect. I am perfectly me. And I am enough. And release. And I want you to look at this white light again and let it resonate with everything that is who you are. And I want you to release the need to feel poorly about yourself. If you feel motivated, you hold out your hand, your closed fist, and I want you to open it. And as you do, I want you to say in your mind, I release the need to feel poorly about myself. I release the need to feel poorly about myself. And as you do this, you feel an incredible sense of empowerment coming over you. Relief, relaxation. And it is good. And as you continue to enjoy this great moment, take just a few seconds and send some of that abundant energy that you have out to someone who needs it. Someone that you may know who's ill or discouraged. Send them a little prayer, a little power, a little energy. Now in just a second, I'm going to count from 1 to 3, and as I do, I want you to see that beautiful ball of light that is you, taking its normal position above your head, feeling very, very good and empowered. 1, just feeling great, empowered. 2, eyes beginning to open, feeling just refreshed and tingling all over. And 3, eyes open wide, feeling so much better. You are perfect. You are enough. You have everything you need. You will no longer pay any attention to anybody that wants to denigrate you, and you will no longer pay attention to your own thoughts that are self-denigrating. Am I right or am I right? One of those two. It's an easy choice. All right. Let's bring Dr. Hunter back on. Okay, let's segue right into the Enspirit. I was using vision too much. Enspirit, part of our program, and this is where you can share thoughts, impressions. You can also get a inner oracle card reading. Let me start with our local audience here. Anyone have a comment, impression, question, answer? Somebody stole the mic. Somebody have the mic? Oh, they didn't steal it. I stole it for myself. I'm just no good for that.
Stop it.
She said stop it. The chair recognizes Phyllis.
Hello, everyone. The self-esteem, me esteem, has been really great for me. A little bit of my history, I was over 250 pounds.
Really?
And I always thought that my life would be better if I was thin, because that's what everybody said. Mm-hmm. And, you know, my life would be perfect, my job would be great, I would be loved, the whole 9 yards. Well, I lost 120 pounds, and I felt terrible. I looked terrible, I was sickly, I was in and out of the hospital constantly with pain that they couldn't find anything wrong with me. And, you know, they don't tell you the things that... I still looked at myself, and I still saw myself as 250 pounds. I did not see myself thin. I looked like a Shar-Pei. To be quite honest, I had so much baggy skin. Yes, you may laugh. it took over a year after getting off all the medicine that they had me drugged up with when I lost the weight to start feeling good again. And I have put some of the weight back on, but I feel better than I have in a very long time. I feel healthy. I don't have the pain anymore. And I stopped worrying about what other people think that I should look like. My body told me what I should look like, and I've done a complete turnaround, and I just want people to know, like you've been teaching us, don't go by what people say you should do to make yourself be better, because when I got all the way down to 120, 130 pounds, it was really, really bad for me.
All right.
So.
Thank you, Phyllis. Appreciate your sincerity and honesty. Anyone else here want to anything before we move on? I can trip over the rug if I want. Okay.
You know, I'd like to say
Dr.
thanks to
Hunter.
Phyllis for sharing her story. That it takes a lot of courage, you know, not only to own our own stuff, but to be able to share it with others. And that is standing in your own truth. And we each are who we are. And if you're healthy and you're happy and you're taking your journey, that's the most important thing. So bravo to you.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
concur.
Thank you.
That's another thing. You know, we're all on our path, on our journey. So who else has a right to ridicule our path, our journey? Nobody. Go ahead, Dr. Hunter.
Paradox.
Oh, yeah.
In our little book.
I told you she'd
We got
do
a
it.
little book here. Our inner oracle self-discovery cards, paradox, which is the theme of tonight. I did think about 4 places I could have used it, but that would have kind of slowed things down a little. A truth can be found in seemingly contradictory ideas. What may seem like a false proposition can be a set of new ideas and a way of thinking. Your solution may lay in the opposite direction that you think. Keep in mind that the cosmos works in equals and opposites. That's really important to know, by the way. Not all truths lay in common opinions. This may be a time for contrarian thinking and opening your mind to what may not make sense at first, and thus new perspectives are discovered. So paradox is it's a beautiful thing. It goes with the 180 principle that Dr. Kelley teaches in the program. There's just so many ways of seeing it, but very often there's a mystery afoot. We just have to change our view, and then it works. That's what I mean. It's really odd.
Yeah, good points. And that's another good point. If you got problems, if you got something you're looking for, sometimes a solution you're looking for lies outside of your belief system. That means you need to expand your knowledge, expand your belief system. Anybody care for a card reading tonight? Pick a card. Anyone? Okay, Carlin, do you want to pick your own? Okay.
What a great idea. I love it when they can pick their own.
Anyone you want. Go ahead and look at it. Okay. It's wild card number 3, blocks.
Ooh, wild card. I love those wild cards. There's a time for movement and a time to sit still.
You're a wild card.
What may...
Nothing. I didn't say a thing. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, where am I? What may seem like
Sorry.
blocks could be an opportunity to reevaluate while allowing the universe to open new doorways. At times, we simply need to get out of our own way in order for events to unfold as they should. It can feel like free-falling when a leap of faith is required. If blocks continue, it simply may be time for a new direction. But don't dismay. Blockages serve purposes. Diligence and insight is required, and remain open. So sometimes we're blocked for a reason. And we just have to sometimes let the timing, it's kind of like you want something, but there has to be a cosmic script to be written. So you have to wait and be patient until the right doorway opens. So, it's watch the blocks. Blocks are not a bad thing. And if it continues, I have a formula 3 times I'm out. If it continues, then, I think I better change my direction. So just something to think about.
All right. So we've got some folks in the chat room. So
Well,
what you said?
there is somebody in there with a number, but they didn't put their name, so I don't have the name.
Let me see if
And
Tina knows. Do you know Tina? Okay. Then let's go to the next one. Jenny? Okay, Jenny. I will pull a card for you. If you can do it from there, I'd be impressed. All right? The card is number 45, Inspiration Motivation. Card number 45.
Okay.
Do a quick
Inspiration and motivation come from hope. Motivation means finding a meaningful reason to do something. Look within for inspiration, leading to motivation by reflecting on your goals and the life you want to live. Drive and accomplishment may be missing from your life, or your life may revolve too heavily around it. Remain balanced, inspired, and motivated with the vigor of positive energy. So that's for Jenny.
All right. Who's next on our list?
She did type in, I saw Lorena's name. Is that
Lorena, okay.
what Tina had? Okay.
All right.
Would you like to?
Yeah, we'll do Lorena. I'm just thinking, waiting for the moment.
He's waiting for inspiration and motivation.
Yeah, per the previous card, huh? It's this one. Groundedness, number 37.
Ah. So this is for Lorena. Remain grounded by looking for evidence that supports or refutes claims or beliefs. Have a compelling and defensible basis for your beliefs, especially esoteric beliefs. An absence or denial of evidence does not assure a truthful conclusion. Be willing to examine beliefs, assumptions, and opinions and weigh them against facts. Suspend judgment until you have considered all the facts or have more facts to uncover. Adjust opinions when new facts are found. So sometimes the message in that is that we do need to have, my favorite line is, maybe means I don't have enough information. So don't be too quick to make decisions until you're sure, until you're feeling confident about it, and be investigative and outside your own belief system. That was what Dr. Kelley would tell you too. Yeah.
He would. I know him personally. All right, let's, we got a couple more, right? Two more, we'll get to those. Tina C. Okay.
Tina.
C. Not to be confused with Tina B. All right. It's number 5, law of control. And
Wow.
you can summarize that. Basically, let me summarize it, and you can pipe in with anything that I miss.
All right.
Law of control simply says you cannot control other people, you cannot change other people, stop trying. If it's something that you cannot control, stop trying. It's a lack of respect for free will to try to control other people. The biggest way that people violate this, or the law of control, or try to control other people, is through unsolicited advice. That includes adult children. So if you are giving unsolicited advice to other people, including your adult children, the advice is, Dr. Vicki,
Stop it.
stop it.
You'd
All
think
right.
you'd wrote this stuff or something.
You'd think. We did. All right, we're going to do...
Is there one more, or are we...
One more,
We good?
and then if anybody here wants a quick one, we can do it too. All right, who's next? Deborah or Debbie? Deborah, okay. This time it's Deborah. It's not Giggling Debbie, right? Am I correct? All right,
That's
Deborah.
right.
Not to be confused. Did you send that psychically, or it's not you, right? Just kidding. All right. We also have a Deborah in the audience, and I'm giving her some grief. Okay. It's number 36, gratitude.
Oh, I love that one. Do you want to just sum it up?
No, you can sum it up. Or you can read it, whichever you want.
Which number again? Sorry?
36. 36.
I knew that I was right here. See, the other thing is you did write this stuff, so little teasing there. Gratitude is the joy one feels in the heart when the mind awakens to the gifts of life, no matter how seemingly small or insignificant. The true essence of love lives within the feeling of gratitude, desiring a connection with all life while giving freely without want for return. Gratitude is benevolence that wants to give forward. Take a compliment with graciousness and good manners when gratitude is extended. So that's your message there, Deborah. Just gratitude, but it's both ways. Be gracious when people are grateful to you. So.
And we were kind of hitting on that earlier tonight when I was talking about, you realize the odds of you being here. We'll be grateful for you being here and for the opportunity to leave this woodpile higher than you found it. That's always a good thing. So we appreciate everyone's kind attention tonight. We appreciate the time you took to be here, whether physically with us or on the live broadcast with us or in the archives as well. I'd like to thank Tina Balderrama for moderating our chat room. She's here with us tonight. Thanks to Michael Kelley for engineering our broadcast. Thanks to Dr. Vicki Hunter for being part of this as always. And just thanks to the universe, because I didn't want to leave the gratitude thing off. So anyway, we appreciate it. We really do. So until next week, listen, think, learn, grow, and live. Good night.